What we're going to cover today is we're going to talk about how John Vasquez, Big Bear real estate agent, has closed over 27 million in volume as a solo agent, mind you, without spending any money on leads. So he wasn't dipping into Zillow's pockets. He wasn't in, cahoots with Google PPC, although those things are all good, right? But he genuinely, organically got a lot of business. And I think a lot of us agents, we're starting to see the squeeze on how much they're charging for internet leads. And so we're thinking, how do we close sales without spending that much money? So he's going to dive into three things today. The first thing he's going to do is he's going to teach you. Now, John's a great listing agent. If you go up to Big Bear, California, you will see his signs everywhere. And he always, I'm telling you, he always gets good price for his listings, even in a down market. He's getting offers.
Nice.
So with that being said, he's got a great system for his listings. So he's going to walk you through his listing presentation, how he updates his sellers, what he does, how he gets the actual, how he converts them to listings. He's going to walk you through where he gets his leads from. So, you're wondering, where's he getting his leads from? He's going to talk about his number one closed sales source and how you can duplicate that source. And then lastly, he's going to walk you through his social media strategy. He taught it to me. He's one of my mentors. And that strategy has gotten me so much business, so much efficiency. It's blown up my social media. And I got to tell you, it's worked in my business. It's made me money. So that's why I'm so excited he's sharing that today. So if you're just hopping on the webinar, let's go ahead and dive into it. The first piece of content we're going into is John's listing presentation. And I asked him to share this specifically because I know that this is the outline that when you get in front of a seller, if you do this, you're going to stand out from the competition and you're really going to dominate in your market. So real quick intro into John. He's an icon agent in our company. That means he has closed over 500,000 in GCI in 1 year. He, in 2019, so a lot of you guys might be thinking, well, yeah, but he's probably got a big sphere. He probably has a ton of past clients, right? It's easy for him. Actually, he left a team in 2019 with zero past clients, zero leads, zero sphere, and he had to rebuild. So within actually 2 years, he was able to build a business with 57 closed sales and 27 million in volume. And John has been somebody that has always impressed me because he's not only an amazing agent, he's a great father, he's a great husband, he's a great Christian, he's a great leader. So let's all tune in. John, kick it off with your listing presentation.
Awesome. Hey, everybody. So happy to be here with you. Stephen, thank you very much. Really excited to dive into this with you guys. So let's go ahead and dive into what the listing presentation looks like. Okay. I know right now, you'll hear a lot like, oh, like more listings, more buyers. You're going to hear a thread throughout this conversation where I'm constantly going back to quality, quantity and quality, right? I strongly believe in the quality over quantity mentality. So let's go ahead and dive right into that. Okay. So, first and foremost is what does it look like to set a proper appointment, right? I always want to set, first impressions are everything. When I'm on the phone with that potential customer, right, where they're interested in wanting to list with me, my number one goal is to get to know them, their dreams, their goals, before we even dive into the business aspect of it. But doing that in a tactful way and leading the conversation that actually meets all personality types where they're at. This is the way that I do it. Okay. So in understanding their dreams and their goals, I typically ask them, hey, where are you going from here? What's next? Right. And by the way, as I'm talking with them, for most of us, when we're getting a listing appointment, we're on the phone with them. Right. So that's their first impression of us. So I always like to smile as I'm talking with them. Right. And then do a lot of listening after I've asked questions. So where are you going from here? It's really important that we know that. Right. What are you going to do with the proceeds? Little side note real quick. Anybody that's got their mics unmuted, let's go ahead and mute that for everybody else. Okay. So where are you going from here? What are you going to do with those proceeds? And we're really tuning into what they are saying, right? If we're quickly just getting from question to question to question and going through a list of pre-qualifying questions, it's going to come across that way, and then we're gonna come off as a salesy type person, and most people don't want to work with those type of people. Okay, so what they want to know is what's setting this person apart, what makes them different, right? And your authenticity, the smile on the other end, even if you're not feeling well. Like this morning, I woke up with a stomach ache. That smile goes a long way, and they could feel it. So I let them know right then, after I've heard the answers to those questions, great. One of my passions, what just jazzes me up in life, is connecting people. I love connecting people. So, assuming that they said that maybe they were going to reinvest those funds from the sale into another purchase. Hey, that's so awesome. It sounds like you're really excited about this next part of your journey. And I, like I said, I'm very passionate about connecting people. Do you have a great agent that you feel confident is going to represent you really well in the area that you're looking? And again, you're just taking really good notes of everything they're saying. You want to do a good job of listening, because you're going to go back to those notes multiple times throughout the relationship, or through the process. So at this point, I say, and I'll take note of that answer. I start going into the direction of where they're ultimately leading them to what they can expect next from me. So, typically I say, most agents, they're just going to they're going to look up your property online. They're going to use the MLS to create a CMA, and then they're going to email that off to you. I don't work that way. I'm here to get to know you, to get to know what you want, really to dive into what your dreams are, because that's what I'm most excited about. And then we're going to help you get there. Okay. So I'm going to ask you some questions about your property. I don't want to assume that the assessor profile I'm looking at right now is right. So what I'm seeing is, for example, it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 1,500 square feet on looks like a 10,000 square foot lot. Is that correct? And more times than not, I've had them say, no, actually it's a 4-bedroom. We did add on, and when they start saying that, whatever their answer is, I'm taking those notes. Why do I want to say like go into that way? Because the last thing I want is to show up to the listing where I'm actually meeting with them in person and I'm going through my report with them. Last thing I want is for them to say, oh, well, you have it noted as a 3-bedroom and it's actually a 4-bedroom. Who looks like the biggest dummy, right? And who's not going to get that listing, likely, because they're going to want to interview someone else, right? So we want to make sure that we're asking the right questions in the beginning. Okay. Okay. Very good. So my next question would be, is there anything that I'm going to ask you if I can gain access to your property, or, if I get to meet you in person, that's even better. When I see your property, is there anything that I could miss, maybe walking through the property, that's a benefit or a feature that you like? And more times than not, I have them say yes. And maybe I would have missed that. Maybe it's a skylight, right? Yeah. We put in 3 skylights and, oh, great. How much did that cost you? That's another important question. You want to know if they did any upgrades, how much that cost them. Because again, last thing you want is to show up to that listing presentation. You didn't ask that question. And then they say, well, okay, you're giving me, and you go over your price opinion. They're saying, well, did you know that I put in $100,000 of improvements? Oops, you don't want to be that person, right? You're the professional. So that's why you ask that question up front. And then, hey, it doesn't necessarily matter to me, Mr. Seller, but it may to another buyer. And so I just want to know what I'm walking into. Did you do those improvements with permits, right? Like if they said they added on. Okay. Other questions that I asked them is,
real quick, John, just to give everybody some context on this. So this is this pre-qualification script. This is before he goes out and meets with the seller. Comment in the chat if you guys use a pre-qualification script. If you do use it, then you probably know the power of it, right? It's really, really helpful. But if you're not using it right now, pay careful attention to this, because it's literally the separator between how the client views you as either a professional or an order taker, whether or not you pre-qualify.
Yeah, and the way that I like to think about it, again, and this is self-talk that we want to tell ourselves, right? I'm a professional. They deserve to hire me, right? They deserve the services I'm going to give them. Why? Because I care more than anybody else does, right? But if we're not asking these questions up front, and we're not building that rapport and really establishing that first impression, that may not get, come across, and that may really impact you getting the listing, right? Think of when you go to the doctor's office, right? I don't know about you, but I've had many doctors where I'm like, I would never go back again. Like, that was a horrible experience. And then I've had those doctors where them or their staff are asking a lot of questions before they even start giving their opinion, right? Last thing I want to do is get an opinion from someone who's not asking questions. Why? Because people don't care what you know until they know that you care, right? That's something that I constantly tell myself to challenge myself as I'm growing as a person and as an agent, right?
John, real quick, how do you
Yes.
get them to, because a lot of agents will struggle with well, how do I go from, we set an appointment to, now I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions, because like some sellers will be like, well, can't we just talk about that when you come over? What's the short summary of how you kind of script that out to, hey, I need to ask you some questions now?
Yeah. So what I'm digging for is, and I love to study personalities, whether it's the DISC, the Enneagram, 5 love languages, whatever it is, I'm obsessed with that. And honestly, I would say that is a big influencer in how I connect with people. Okay. But what I'm looking for is what type of person is, like, who is this, right? Because if they're a high D personality, for those of you that know the DISC, a high D is a very direct person. They don't want a whole lot of fluff. I'm a high ID. I like a bit of fluff before we get to the point, right? It depends on what hat I'm wearing at what point. But if I'm talking with a high D, I need to know that. And so usually we're going to get that in the initial part of the conversation, and that's where I might remind that person. And Stephen, let me know if I'm answering your question. How do you know what question, or at what point to go into the questions? Was that what you were asking essentially? Yeah. So if they're a high D, I'm getting straight to the point. Hey, you sound like a great person. I'm looking forward to getting to know you more. Let me ask you a few questions, and then I'm going to lead us right to what you could expect next from me. Okay. And I know that you're dying to know the answer to the question, what is my property worth and how much do you charge? And I usually just say that right out the bat if I'm getting the feeling that they're a high D personality. That's the way that conversation goes. But I'm still going through these questions, and I say, hey, in order to serve you well, I have questions for you that I need answers to. That's what I would say to a high D, okay? Or a high C, right? High C is a very analytical person. Answer that question? Cool. If they're a high S or they're a high I, the conversation is going to be a lot more fluid, and it's going to be less scientific, or less, I got to go into high D mode. Does that make sense? Raise your hand if this is making sense so far. Okay, cool. So a few more questions that I would ask them. And if you're doing lots of listening, I'm not personally, I don't like to script things out. Okay. Personally, others like Steven is a freaking monster on script. You should show up to a script class on Friday if you haven't already, on Fridays. But for me, I really want it to be I work in a different part of my brain, and I want it to to flow well. Right. And how do I do that personally? I try to listen more than I talk. Okay. You're going to hear me talk more than I'm listening right here because I'm doing the webinar. But when I'm in that other position, I like to do a lot of listening and take a crap load of notes. Okay. All right. Finishing out those questions. Are you considering it? Are you considering any? I always like to know what I'm getting into, and I'm really excited to meet with you. Are you considering any other real estate agents for the job of listing your home? And if so, that's totally okay. I'm just curious. Okay, great. And if they say that they are, I actually like to affirm that. Hey, it sounds like we're a lot alike. When I'm buying something on Amazon, I'm like a nerd when it comes to reading the reviews. I have to read all the reviews before I buy something. I respect that in you. That's great. And thank you. I feel very grateful. There's an opportunity to express gratitude. I feel very grateful that I get to be speaking with you right now, and that I get to meet with you. Thank you. I'm looking forward to that. Another question that's really important. Have you ever sold a home before? Last thing you want is to rattle off if they've already sold 100 houses, right? Or 15 houses or whatever. I'm going to pivot a little bit if they have. And I'm going to compliment that. They say, yeah, I've sold, this certainly isn't my first rodeo. Okay, great. Note to self, they're going to probably want to get to the answer faster than the average seller, right? Of what is my house worth and what do you charge and why are you worth it, right? But I want to know that. Have you sold a home before? Again, last thing I want to know, I don't want to know that when I'm sitting with them. I want to know that before I meet with them so that I could plan better, right? And then I'll ask, will everyone that is involved in the decision of selling your home going to be there? It looks like, for example, it looks like the property's in a trust. Are there other signers, right, that'll be making decisions, right? And ideally, if you have any control or over it, like there's only so much control you have, but if you can, oh, you know what? Oh, there's 3 people that'll be making a decision. Will everybody be there at that appointment? Oh no, it's just gonna be me. Okay, is there another time that we can meet where everybody will be there together? I would like to meet everyone, and I think everybody should hear it. Hear the information, because things can get lost in translation. And my goal is to give you a great experience from start to beyond finish. And a lot of that comes down to communication. And I want to remove all the variables that could cause trouble, problems later, to give you a really great experience. So let's schedule a time, where all 3 of us or 4 of us can sit down together and I'll go through this. Right. So that's why I would ask that question.
So guys and gals, notice as he's going through this, he's identified if there's competition, he's identified if there's going to be decision makers there. He's identified what he needs to know about their home so he can separate himself from it. And now he transitions to, cool, here's what you can expect from me. And it's a really beautiful transition. So John, break down how that looks, now that you've gone through that.
Yep. And in the very beginning of the conversation, I'll usually briefly touch on that. Let's go ahead and mute our mics. Thanks for now until the Q&A. I'll usually touch on that very briefly in that beginning conversation. Is like the conversation is flowing. First time they're calling me, I'll say, hey, I'm going to ask you some questions. Boom, boom, boom. Then I'm going to go over what you can expect next. And then, because I want to plant that in their head. Oh, this guy's a professional. And then ultimately when I get there, like where I'm at right now in the conversation, here's how I lay that out. So, hey, this is excellent. Thanks for answering all those questions, Mr. Seller. Here's what you could expect from me. I'm really excited about seeing your property. So I do want to get in to see it. In my market, you guys, there's a lot of second homes. So for your market, where maybe a lot of them are primary, you might say, hey, I'm really excited to meet with you and see your beautiful house. I already looked it up on Google, and I'm sure you made it even more amazing. I'm excited about that. Here's what you can expect from me next. Okay. I'm going to be, so I can show up and be fully prepared for our conversation, make the best use of your time. I'm going to get to work right now on my marketing plan, a detailed marketing plan, and a detailed market analysis for your property. Okay. And I would like to send that to you in advance so you could read through it before we meet. And that way, again, we can make the best use of your time, and then we can focus more on answering your questions and getting you the results you're looking for. Okay. In my report, you're going to see that I'm going to give you 3 price opinions, but I'm actually going to leave that blank. Okay. You're going to see all my notes on the market analysis. But I'm going to leave that part blank because I want to have that conversation with you. Pricing a property is both a science and an art. The science is the data. Most agents can get that by a click. We're gonna go a lot deeper than just a click. I'm gonna go over that with you, okay? And I'm gonna make it all make sense, okay? We're gonna talk about the market, what's trending, we're gonna look at the stats. But then we're going to get into the art portion of it, and it's critical that we approach pricing from that side as well. Why? Because the art side of it that I'm speaking of, that's buyer psychology, okay, and that's a moving target. Okay, buyer psychology is heavily influenced by trends in the market. Buyer psychology is heavily influenced by multiple factors, including what's going on in the media, right? So because I'm in tune to what's happening in real time every single day in your market, in our market, we're going to go over that part too. And then I'm going to lead you to the answer that you're dying to get. What is my property worth? I'm actually going to give you 3 thoughts on that, or 3 opinions of price based on your style of doing real estate, right? Some sellers are more aggressive, and some, maybe they're a little more on the conservative side of things. They don't want to necessarily throw it out there and see what happens. Whereas other sellers, they roll the dice every time they go to Vegas and they win. That seller might want to test the market. So I'm going to give you a few different prices, and we'll have that conversation. I look forward to that. Do you have any questions?
John,
right, is what I'll ask.
when you're in there and you're staging it for coming over for the presentation, you're actually telling them, hey, I'm not going to give you a price, because what do all sellers say? They're like, what's the price, right? So you're saying, hey, I'd like to go through the data with you. I'm going to give you a couple options and we're going to determine together. And so you guys, a great presentation is when you address objections in advance before they come to you. That's when you know you've really got a great presentation. So John, let's talk about prepping for the appointment and then get like kind of go through the appointment stuff, an overview on that.
Yeah. We'll kind of speed up this part here because I know you guys are probably dying to hear how to build an agent referral machine and how to build out your social media. And I'm going to give you a few very helpful tips on that. So yeah, getting to the prepping for the appointment. I really want to show up to that appointment and feel the confidence that I'm going to crush it. What helps me feel confident is looking at all the angles and then coming to a hey, Steven, can you mute the mics on your end? Thanks, brother.
Yeah.
So I want to feel confident when I get to that appointment, and I do. Every time I go to a listing appointment, I'm like, I'm going to crush it. I'm getting this listing, right? And here's what helps me know that. One, I've set the stage, and I built I made a great first impression over the phone. I'm going to go crush the second impression by showing up really well prepared, right? And every single time, that's the result I get. My sellers are like, geez, that's a lot more than I thought you were going to bring, right? I want to impress them. And so here's how I do that, okay? I usually take, and I let them know this in the phone call, by the way, before I hang up with them. And usually I finish that phone call with, hey, do you have any questions? Okay, great. Like in my market, a lot of times I don't get to meet with them. I'm going to go see their house first, right? And then I'm going to jump back on a Zoom call with them to go through that report with them. But I want the control of creating the environment that I think they need, right? And I'm not going to do that by like just giving them what they want right now, right? I need to set the stage for that and build up to that. And so a lot of it's in that initial conversation, and then it's in the prep work. Okay, so and I let them know, hey, my detailed marketing plan and market analysis usually takes 2 hours, okay, minimum. And so what does those 2 hours look like? In my market analysis, my marketing plan is typically already pre-done. I already created that where I could use it across all different types of properties. I go with the luxury approach. So I'm giving all of my customers luxury approach. And that impresses them. Hey, most agents are going to categorize you. And I tell them this. I don't work that way. My belief system's different. I'm not going after luxury. I'm helping everybody. And I'm here to help you get great results. Okay. So in the prep, I focus on the comps, right? And so I want to tell a story. Okay. So I think about that. What story am I going to tell? If I already know the price just by intuition, like, cool, I need to tell that story. So I go to the comps, I pick the sold comps that most closely match their property, and then I make notes. So it's like in this market, we're going down, right? Or at least in our market, we are. Hey, this property sold for this on X date. It was X amount of days on market, and they had 3 price reductions, right? And I use my Sharpie marker, or if I'm doing it digitally, I'll just type it in. And the big red letters, I want them to see all those price reductions and days on market, because I want to start planning in their head, I don't want to be that. You know,
let's just look at this, guys. Remember that presentation is so big on influence, right? And so, you know, you could have a purse that's made out of one material, but you could have a purse that, you know, is made out of the same material, but sold by a brand with a better presentation, and it could be triple the cost. And so notice how he's going in through the CMA, he's notating things, he's putting big letters on it. The presentation, what he's communicating to the client is, I pay insane attention to detail. And when you see people like that, you're more likely to trust their opinion. And that's why he's able to get good prices for his listings. John, we got to summarize this point. So let's get to the point of, we're at the appointment now. And why don't we talk about going through the CMA? Because I think that's really the key here.
Yep. So that's really where we're at. So telling the story, okay, keep that in the back of your mind as you're going through this part with your sellers, okay? You want to guide them to where you know they need to be to get the house sold, okay? And you'll know that, you'll feel that confidence because you've already done the homework, right? Even if I know a house and I've resold it a few times, I will still give it a 2 hours of my focus on building these reports. So, so running through sold comps, typically I'm already letting them know, hey, here's the way. Before I even dive into it, before I've dived into the market analysis, here's the market where we were, here's the market where we are, and here's the question mark that everybody has. Where are we going, right? And so I go into detail on that. If they're a high D, I usually summarize very quickly. If they're a high I, I'm gonna really lean into those pain points. I'm gonna go into, here's why the Fed's lowered the rates, and here's why, or raised the rates. Here's why this, here's why that, here's what was in buyer psychology. And by the way, if you're a new agent, you guys, that some of this might sound daunting, right? Here's the beauty of it. Today, like if you're like, I haven't had any listings yet, today you could build your confidence by going into the MLS for an hour, grab a cup of coffee, focus for an hour, throw your headphones in, and look at what the patterns were. Go back a year and then make your way up 6 months, make your way up to 3 months, and then where we were in the last 30 days. And just make some bullet point notes on what you're seeing, because you're gonna see, oh wow, X amount of days of market price reduction. So anyways, if you want more, for the sake of time, I can't go into that further, but if you want to like dive in deeper on any of these points, you guys, we can always have another call, okay? All right, so telling a story, hey, so here's what the sold comp said. This is what buyers were just willing to pay. And I only went back 30 days. Appraisers are gonna go back 6 months, but that's old news, right? 30 days, this is what buyers are willing to pay at discounted prices, with sellers that were still thinking the market is what it was in February. It's not, right? And here's how those sellers paid for that, right? Who tested the market. And then we're saying, here's what's in escrow right now. Wow, look at this seller was only on the market for 5 days. Looks like in this seller too. And this, you want some of those, and then you also want some of these other sellers. Same thing, price reductions. You want to notate all that. 170 days on market. You want to notate all that, right? But you want a little bit of both sides of the story in your in escrow part of the CMA. And a lot of times, more times than not, I'm calling all the agents for those listings in escrow. Hey, Joe, what's that? I'm doing a CMA right now. What's that property in escrow at? This is going to make you look like a freaking genius, because the sellers are not going to get this information anywhere else, guaranteed. They're not going to know. So, hey, I'm just doing a CMA. What are you in escrow at? Oh, cool. You're going to notate that. They're in escrow at this, right? Because if they see a price up here and they see that it's sold in 5 days, but it actually sold down here, you need to know that, right? So that's important. That's another part of the story. Wow, here's what's happening in real time. And Mr. Seller, here's where the story changes a little bit. These are homes that are currently on the market, that if your house is hitting the market this week, this is what buyers are looking at and essentially you're competing with, right? Wow, look at this. They've been on the market, same thing. Price reductions, long days on market, right? So now we're getting to the question, answering the question that you've been dying to hear answered. What is your property worth? Mr. Seller, at the end of the day, so I'm going to give you a few opinions. At the end of the day, you're the boss. You get to choose the price. And 2, a property is worth what a buyer is willing to pay for it. I always touch on those 2 points. And that's every single time I say that, sellers are like, cool, this isn't just another douchebag agent that's going to like tell me, try to get this listing. He's leveling with me, right? So I always say those things, and it's important. Here's my opinions. And Stephen, how are we doing? Do you want me to finish up with this?
Yeah, we're a little bit past time on this one.
Okay.
So I would summarize with, you go through the bullish and, like, hey, like these are the type of pricing strategies I like. So maybe summarize that in about a minute.
Yep. I'm going to summarize that right now. And then we're going to jump right into building an agent referral beast system. Okay. So Mr. Seller, here's the thing. Again, buyers your home is worth what a buyer's willing to pay for it. My goal is to help you arrive at a price that's going to get you the highest price for what the best buyer is going to pay you. Okay. Every seller is different though. Okay. And I respect that. Okay. Some sellers, and this is where I always hit this. Okay. Some sellers, they're always feeling lucky, and they're the type of seller when they go to Vegas, they roll the dice, they win every time. Right. So they may want to test the price, right? And here's the pro on that. I always like to go over pros, cons, and risk factors, and I'll go over this, at every stage throughout the process, including when we get you multiple offers or one offer, however I lay that out, right? But anyways, it always comes out a lot cleaner than that. But anyways, so Mr. Seller, the pro on that is that seller might get a lot more, but in this market, I'm seeing those sellers. I mean, remember all those sellers in the sold comps that tried that, and they're not feeling so lucky right now. Then there's the other type of, but hey, if that's you, then I'm happy to test the market with you. Other sellers are like, they're seeing what's happening on the macro level. They're seeing what's happening in the economy. They're hearing what's happening from their neighbors who tried to sell their house at a high price. And they're maybe a little bit more conservative, a little more, so they might go with an aggressive approach. I'm seeing a lot of those sellers in this market win. They're actually the ones that are getting lucky. They're getting multiple offers more times than not still, right? And then there's sellers kind of maybe in the middle. That may be more of an estimated market value. I'm going to give you my opinion on that. And they may feel like they don't want to leave any money on the table, but they also don't want to shoot for the sky in a market like this. Which seller are you? Right? And I always finish with that question. And I let them do the talking.
So this is really awesome. What I love about John's script is he doesn't say your home, your price evaluation is crazy. This is what I think of it. This is my opinion. He says, hey, here's a story of 3 different types of sellers. I help a lot of clients in the area, and this is tend to be what they think. What seller best describes you? They're going to self-identify. They're going to say, I'm that guy. I always get lucky. Cool. If you want to go ahead and go with that strategy, this is great. Now, just like that guy goes, if he doesn't win a couple times and he doesn't get lucky, then we know that we played our luck with the market and we need to readjust. Okay. So you guys raise your hand. Did you guys get some value out of hearing his listing presentation? One of the top agents in his entire city. He's got he's got probably $4 or $5 million worth of volume listed right now, and he's crushing it. And these are the scripts that he's using day to day with clients. So great stuff, John. Let's transition into the agent referral system. And for time purposes, we went a little bit over on that. So I'm going to summarize a lot of this for us, and we're just going to kind of go back and forth a little bit. Yep. But so you guys might be wondering, where does a guy like John get his leads from, right? Like where the heck is he getting his leads? And I'll tell you, he and I both have the same #1 lead source. Okay. We're talking about other than past clients, because if you're here and you're probably, wondering, like, in addition to my past clients, where do I get business from? And so we both have the same #1 lead source, and that's agent to agent referrals. It's the #1 lead source we both run. It's #1 for closed sales. And it is an absolute blessing of a business model to run your business on. So if you don't want to give, your soul to Zillow, which, hey, I'm all for internet leads. I pay for internet leads. But John is like, he's just crushing it off of just organic referral-based business. So let's dive into the agent referrals. John, I'm gonna take over a little bit on this just to kind of keep this presentation.
Yep.
The first thing that you guys need to know is you need to have the right partners. Okay, so that's you need to develop your agent partner relationship. So what John and I do is we think about the areas that refer and supply our business the most. So I'm in Orange County, California. Most of my referrals come from Los Angeles. So what did I do? The first people I developed relationships with, shout out to David Hitt in Los Angeles, was Los Angeles agents. And I called them and I reached out and I said, hey, I'm looking to build my book of business with agents I can send referrals to. I noticed you have a ton of closed sales on Zillow. You've got 5 stars. You look like a great person. I'd love to see how I can refer you. Would you be open to hopping on a 15-minute call to see if there's a way we can share each other business? Now, I pre-reviewed his Zillow profile. I looked at his Facebook, and I'm looking for people who are positive, kind, and give great customer service. And I could see that, and then I interviewed him, and that's how I developed relationships with people in San Diego, Los Angeles, all sorts of places, right? So that's #1 is you got to develop your list of partners that refer you. #2 is you need to go to make strategic use of the events. So if you're here with Keller Williams Realty, Family Reunion is the biggest event. Mega Camp is another big event. If you're with EXPCon. If you're with Tom Ferry Coaching events, right? So you want to schedule to make a prospecting opportunity out of each event. How do you do that? You bring a bunch of your business cards. You go and you search for people in the areas that you most get referrals from or you most give referrals to. Okay, so that's how you do it. So you're out there and I'm looking for people in the Inland Empire, San Diego, Los Angeles, and other areas. I make sure to get those connections and I'll talk to them and I'll take their business cards. Now, here's what I do. because I like to be efficient. I like to leverage. I take a picture of their business card. I upload it to my Google Drive. I have a shared folder with my virtual assistant. She automatically puts them into my client database, and it automatically sends them a text message and an email, and it puts them on a follow-up campaign. Then she goes and she adds them on social media. What's your number one problem? Most of you would love to do agent referrals, but you don't know what to do with the business cards when you get back. It's a struggle, right? How many of you probably have my business card from a seminar in like 2009? It's probably somewhere in the back of your car right now. You better take it out. Call me. Just kidding. But with that being said, that's how we build our database. And so you could get a solid 50 good conversations with people that you meet at these seminars. Now, here's where John and I do things a little bit differently. We're looking for those key relationships. And those key relationships are the people who either inspire you, you can refer, or they'll send you referrals. And from there, we focus on following up with them. So John and I actually met through agent to agent referrals. We were networking. I met John. I'm like, dude, this guy is an awesome Christian. He's an awesome husband. He's a good guy. Like, he's just, this dude all around is like the coolest guy I know. I'm like, I want to make a connection with him. So after the event, I called him. I was like, hey, you're in Big Bear. I'd love to come up and visit you, pick your brain a little bit, see how you operate your business. And that's how that relationship started. And we've closed quite a few sales together. He sends me referrals. I send him referrals. Our markets are very mutually aligning, right? But we're not in competition. We're always supporting each other because we're not in the same market. So with that being said, that's how you nurture those relationships. Now, John, I'll let you kind of talk about social media a little bit, because this is where you really stand out over anyone I know. So how do you follow up with these people on social?
Yeah, and real quick, just a few more points on that that I think would be helpful before we jump into that, Stephen. So something that I do a little bit different on that, and maybe Stephen does it too, but what I specifically like to do with when I collect people's business cards, first of all, my belief is I shouldn't get their business card unless I've had a great conversation with them, right? And left them feeling more special than when I first met them, right? That's kind of my approach to it. Once I get that business card, I immediately will, like, if I'm at an event, I immediately find them on Instagram and Facebook, and then I'll follow them, right? That immediately gets them into your database without, quickly, and then also allows you to start engaging on their social media while they're at the event, right? And so add them to the social media, start engaging with them while they're at the event, and then set up reminders. For me, I use iPhone. So Siri, remind me next week to follow up with Stephen Hurd, great guy. I'm asking Siri to remind me. Hey Siri, remind me also 2 weeks from now to follow up with Stephen Hurd, right? So that's kind of my unique approach, I guess, to that with getting business cards and nurturing them. And then I keep those business cards usually for quite a while, and I keep them on my desk so that I could flip through them and remember them, right? And keep going back to them, right? I need to follow up with them on social media. Oh, I need it, whatever it may be. So real quick, we're going to jump into what I call here I called it the 125 ratio.
John,
but
before you jump in that real quick, I just want to share with you guys, part of John's strategy is he's always commenting on people's social media. So he'll find those key relationships, and you don't need a lot. John and I maybe have 50 to 75 each. Agents we're tight with in different markets. We look at their social media, we comment, happy birthday, hope things are going well for you, saw you got a new car, congrats. And that's really how we're staying in touch with them, is the Facebook, Instagram stories, commenting on their posts, and just being authentic. And then we're adding value to them by doing trainings, doing stuff like that where we don't expect anything in return. And I can tell you guys, every time I host a webinar like this, I'm actually the one benefiting, because I usually get a referral right after. Hey, I got a family member in Orange County or something like that. So it's a great business model because you get to give back. And it's a constant mutual giving back and forth. So it's an awesome business model. John, let's wrap up your strategies with the 1 to 25 method. That was the total game changer for me, how I've been able to stay socially connected with everyone and not be bogged down by content. I was so sick of trying to record videos all the time, do this, do that, but you really opened my eyes to this method. So why don't you walk us through that?
Cool. Steve, I'm going to share my screen here real quick too. But first I want to see hands. Would you guys find it useful to know how to get 30 pieces of content from one video? Who wants to record 30 videos? Who's got that much time, right? This week. So I'm going to share with you, and this is a resource that I'll have Stephen, send you guys the link on here at the end of our conversation. Let me know if this comes up. Okay. Can you guys see JV's 130? Can everybody see that? Okay.
Yeah, we can all see it.
Awesome. JV's 130 growth method for social media. And here's my belief system. And this applies. I'm actually going to be preparing a lot of these for different things. One for networking, one for, relationships, because this actually applies to this method applies to just about anything you want to grow in. Okay. So this is JV's 130 plus grow method. And it comes from the philosophy that every single opportunity should always equal multiple opportunities. Okay. So if I'm going to go on a listing appointment, let's go back to that real quick. How can I influence this or impact this in a way that's going to turn into multiple opportunities? And I don't know if you guys picked up on it, but one of those additional opportunities that are created is by asking the question, where are you going next? And can I connect you with another great agent? Okay. Another relationship, plus getting them a referral fee, plus however many referrals that agent's going to give you, right? So there's at least 3 more opportunities from that one question from that one seller, or in meeting with one seller. Okay. So here's what the social media method. Here's how it works. One video equals 30 plus pieces of content in 5 simple steps. Step number 1, publish the one video. So you've done it so lately I've been shooting restaurant videos. Okay. So I did one video. It usually takes me about 3 hours. And once I have that video, I publish it on 4 main platforms. And there's good times to list and to publish. We could talk about that at a later date if you have questions, but ultimately I publish one video on all 4 main platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Facebook Biz, Instagram. Okay. Include a catchy title, tasty description, hashtags, mentions. Okay. Mention the restaurant in this case, right? Or the person or whoever it is that you're interviewing, whatever, right? Step number 2, chop that one video into 5 30 to 60 second micro videos. Okay. And you're throwing these into your content folder that you're going to start building out, right? Because you're going to actually be able to reuse this content later and get even more opportunities out of it, right? The opportunities that I'm talking about here are exposures, right? So for one video, I get 30 plus pieces of exposure of myself, ultimately, right? To the viewer. And for each one, as you start growing them out, it's like 30, 40, 50, hundreds, thousands of views, right? So there's more opportunities. Step number 3, once you chop up that one video into 5 30 to 60 second micro videos, you publish those 5 short videos on 5 platforms, right? On Reels, for example. So TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Facebook Biz, YouTube. You could actually get apps that actually do it. You could publish all at the same time, right? Make sure you turn on captions for when you post those micro videos. Save before adding a title, so you can complete step number 4. Add a title that relates to the short video, and then publish all those within 24 hours, right? Those are reels, essentially, okay? Step number 4, you chop those 5 short micro videos into 10 to 20 stories, okay? And this can all be done within the app that you're using, Instagram, for example. And then you can actually save them, so you don't actually have to go into an editing software and do all that, right? So you chop those 5 short micro videos into 10 to 20 stories. If it's a 30-second video, this will actually give you 10 stories for each of the 5, right? If you're doing 60-second videos, this can actually give you 20 videos, right? 15, 15, 15, 15, right? 60, right? And then multiply that by 5. Step number 5, publish all the stories within the same 24 hours as short videos and add new titles because you've already saved them with the captions pre-title, right? And then add GIFs, make it a little bit fun, throw in a pre-arrow and a post-arrow to point people back and forth to the different stories. So that's how you get over 30, is actually 30 to 50 pieces of content from one video. Do you guys find this helpful? Yes.
Yes. So John, the way I've applied this is every time I host an open house now, I will text message all my people my past clients who live in that same city. I will record a video of the house. I'll post that on Instagram, Facebook, all that. I'll do a couple of quick videos of the community, and I'll do a voiceover talking about some of the amenities in the community. And I'm getting per open house 10 or 15 pieces of content, and I've been able to get additional business from that. So you guys, what he's just talking about here is really simple. How many of you guys are like me, feel frustrated with how much time it takes to do social media? How many of you just would rather just be out selling real estate and not on social media, right? Like I don't know about you guys, but like I hate it. I don't want to be on social media, but I'm there because the business demands it at this point. So with that being said, this is a great way to just use one piece of content. You take one, long video. That video could be check out my new listing, right? That video could be best restaurant in Mission Viejo. That video could be top 3 parks in Aliso Viejo. And then you take that and you chop it down into short reels, stories, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and you just chop it up and disseminate it. So you guys, did everyone get value out of that? Can you guys see yourself applying that? Awesome. Cool. Great.
So
now,
real quick, Stephen. So for those of you that may be building out teams, or those of you, maybe you're already doing something like that just as a solo agent, which that method could be, any of us can use that as a solo agent. Okay. This is another resource I'll just share with you real quick. If you guys want to do 1,500 pieces of content in 52 weeks, this is a spreadsheet I created with the same concept for building in, and that's if you wanted to, if you wanted to start hiring virtual assistants and all that around a social media team. Let me know if you're interested in that. I'm happy to provide that as well. And that's a spreadsheet I created. Took a long time for 1,500 pieces. 52 pieces of content, but that actually same method gets you 1,500 plus pieces of content.
Awesome, John. Love it. Cool. So what we've covered so far is we went over John's Ninja Jedi listing presentation, which has just been a game changer. We talked about his leads, where he's getting his leads from. It's agent to agent referrals. You guys, it's not complicated. I promise you, everyone on this call can dominate in that space. There's enough leads for all of us. You just have to get out there. And so we talked about the agent referral business, the right way to do it. It's the only difference is you're staying in touch. Everybody's going to these seminars. We're all meeting each other. The only difference between John and I is we're intentionally staying in touch. And that's because we really value relationships. We care about the people in our lives and we try to stay in touch with them. And, but sometimes you just need a little bit of a system to do that better. So that's a great system. And then we talked about John's 130 method, which has been a game changer for me, like I said. So now I just want to share with you guys a couple things real quick. Can you guys see my screen?
Hey, real quick, Stephen, everybody who's asking questions, we see you and we will answer those questions here in a moment. I didn't want you to think that we were ignoring you.
Awesome. Can you guys see the screen, John?
Yes.
Yes.
Beautiful. So I just want to give you guys my 5 quick tips. This is Stephen's tech stack. And this is what I use to stay in touch with my past clients to make it super simple and automates my follow-up. The first one is HomeBot. HomeBot sends my clients a visually appealing automated value every single month. And I can track how many of them are on it. They're all opening the email. They're all engaging it. It's like $25 a month for 100 people. Everybody should be on HomeBot. Second tip, Cloud CMA. I use Cloud CMA to prepare a CMA report for my past clients. I have a cover letter that says, hey, John, thinking about you guys. I'm sure you guys have no plans to sell your house right now, but I just wanted to keep you updated about the values in your neighborhood. Here's what's selling in the area. Call me if you have any questions. That's a simple CMA that goes out to my past clients. I send 1 or 2 out a day. The third thing is CoreFact. CoreFact is a system where you can upload your database to it, put the addresses in, and it sends everybody a monthly postcard. They have lots of designs, so I just click which design I want. Everybody gets a postcard. I've been running that for years. It's great. The fourth thing is Client Giant. Client Giant is where I add my MVPs to it. Essentially, whoever I add to it, it sends them a quarterly gift branded to myself and my wife, Samira, my partner. And it'll say a little note, hey, we thought you might enjoy this gift. And it sends them things like Yeti mugs and stuff like that. It's a very cool way. It's very low cost. It's $9.99 a month per client. And it sends them out a client gift. This is an amazing way to stay in touch and reward your VIPs. I cannot recommend that enough. And then my fifth tool is Postable. And what that does is you can send automated birthday cards. So I have my whole database in there of my past clients, my family, my friends, sends them an automated birthday card. I don't even have to touch it, okay? So I'm the systems guy. I'm just trying to give you guys some tools and strategies that you can use to really be successful in that, okay? So
love it.
Any questions on that, we're going to address through the Q&A, but we're kind of done with the main content. We're going to go through a Q&A. Before we do, we just want to share with you guys a little bit about why we're doing what we're doing, and give you guys an invitation to a webinar next week. So before the Q&A, just a quick story. Both John and I, before we had joined eXp Real Estate, we were both doing well in our business. But we have since then doubled our volume. We have had insane financial benefits from the company. And third, we've been able to have a real impact on so many people, which has been absolutely amazing. And the way that we do that is the eXp model allows you to connect with the best agents in the country, have them be your mentors without having to pay any kind of fee to their team. So it just unlocked a whole new level for us. I now have 7 mega producers that I can call and ask questions and learn from each week. So next week, we're going to be talking about some of the benefits of partnering up, having me as your team's full-time system manager, sales coach, and mentor, having John with his referral business and all the insight he has being your partner in the business. Now, some of you guys, you're at your brokerage and you're happy, you're crushing it, and you love where you're at. We absolutely support that. We love you. Stay where you're at. That's not who we're talking to right now. We're talking to the few of you who probably are, with your company and you're just not getting the value that you expected. You don't have the right advice that you need, and you're not able to model anyone else's business. All the other top producers are hoarding their secrets, and you would love to get into Google Leads. You would love to host client events, but nobody's willing to sit with you and walk you through the playbook. And that's the difference in our partnership. Is we walk you through the playbook, and there's absolutely no cost, which is so insane about it. So if anybody's interested in that, we're going to be doing that next week. It's going to be the same time, Wednesday, October 5th at 12 p.m. I'm going to drop an RSVP link in the chat right now. So pay attention to this. If you RSVP today, only if you RSVP today, you're going to receive John's networking cheat sheet, where he's going to list all the questions that he asks people when he's networking and all the bullet points that he does. You're going to receive my value of home buying video training. What that is I essentially did an entire masterclass on why you should buy right now, even with interest rates high. Would you like to know how to address every objection from every buyer, see the history of interest rates, understand why buying is a better investment than renting? Then you need that video. The third thing is John's recommended reading list for the books who've had the biggest impact on his life. And lastly, John is offering a one-on-one coaching consultation to anybody who RSVPs today. So I'll drop the link in the chat. Again, if you're happy where you're at, we love you. Come to our events. We just want to connect with you. If you're not happy where you're at, consider a one-on-one consultation with us. And I promise you, you're going to get more value from us than I think that's available right now in the industry. We're really pouring into people, and we're seeing a lot of people's lives be changed by the advice we're giving. So we're excited about that. So with that being said, John, do you have anything you want to share before we jump into the Q&A?
No, I mean, aside from just expressing gratitude, I appreciate you guys. Thank you, ladies and gents, for being here. And let's jump into the Q&A.
Awesome.
Hey, Stephen, let's real quickly, let's start with the questions that are in the chat. I want to make sure that they get answered. So there was a question around what was my average sale price in 2021. In 2021, it was $448,000.
Love that. Cool. We have.
Do you find that giving, or how many of you? Let's see. Do you find that giving the market analysis, sellers use the information but list with another agent or as FSBO? Personally, no. No, not over the last few years.
What you got to think about too, number one, John doesn't have a lot of FSBOs in his area. I looked him up. I think there was 5, and they were mostly land listings. So it's not a big FSBO market because he sells in there's a lot of investment homes where he's at. He's in a vacation resort area. And so there's not a lot of owners that actually live there. It's mostly Airbnb owners. The second thing is, just because everybody's giving the same information, everybody has the same CMA, everybody has the same 10-point marketing strategy, but who do you want to work with? Do you want to work with the person you connect with? You want to work with the person who listens the best? You want to work with the person who you have the most certainty in. And so it's actually how you uphold yourself with the information you deliver, right? Somebody who delivers me information but has a bad attitude is not going to make me want to work with them, right? So I want an expert. Awesome. Let's see. Somebody asked, I'm already with EXP, and do you guys offer these same benefits? John and I do have coaching for non-EXP members. We're not really advertising coaching, and it's really, if you want it, come talk to us about it. We're happy to help you open up our systems, but we don't really like advertise that. But this is purely kind of for our EXP family, the people who join us. We unlock all of our resources and pour into them because EXP pays us generously when we help them produce. That's the only way we get a benefit, is if you are a high producing agent or we really have an impact in your business.
Yeah, at the end of the day, Stephen and I both care deeply, and if you need help, regardless of the brokerage you're at, I know Stephen said this, just reiterating it. Please feel free to call us. I mean, I get agents calling me all the time, like looking in Big Bear, and there's agents up here that are like really nasty about it, and like, you shouldn't be selling them up. If we come from contribution, it always feels good, and it helps other people feel good, and so we're more than happy to help. It's just our focus and our attention is with the tribe that is coming alongside us. So if they're getting more of our attention, like the easiest way to get closer to us is joining the tribe. That's the concept, basically. If you're outside, I mean, like, you're not outside. You're a human, and we love you, right?
Definitely. So let's talk about, if anybody has any questions, you can feel free to unmute right now, because I'm not seeing a lot more in the chat, but as people unmute, or you can raise your hand and we'll call on you. I want to address a couple of the common misconceptions I think people have, or just questions I know are probably on people's mind right now. John, did you have a big list of past clients and like relationships with attorneys and, probate attorneys before you went solo in 2019?
I didn't have a list because I left that all with my former team, and I honored that relationship. I even honored hey, if somebody does call you, you owe me a referral fee, right, for a year. I was like, sure, okay, and people did call me. There were past clients that just were like, hey, I heard you're doing your thing. We want to help you, or we want to work with you, right? And that was more so back in 2019. But I didn't go chasing it. I didn't even find them on social media if I hadn't already. I just really wanted to honor my agreement with my former team. And so, no, I didn't have a list. I built the list. If I showed you my spreadsheet that I started in 2019, I could show you, because I always keep the dates and where they came from and all that. Is like one person in the first month, and then it's just started snowballing as I was using, networking skills and some of these other things we talked about.
Second question on that, John, is, you closed 57 sales. You were a solo agent. You didn't have an assistant. I'm sure everybody's wondering, like, how do you do that? How do you do that without your life completely imploding? Because that's a significant amount of production for a solo agent, even with an assistant and with a buyer's agent. Like, that's enough to drive me nuts. But how did you manage all that? And what were the key things that you focused on every day?
Yeah, I'm always going to be honest with you. It is not the highlight reels, for any of us. For me, it was, I hit burnout multiple times. I was constantly in internal agony, like not constantly, but consistently, like, work-life balance, like that, because like, if you're a good agent and you really give everybody your best and you strive for excellence, that's going to, I promise you, that'll give you business, right? But it's also the beast that you create will consume you. And there was times where it felt like it was consuming me. And that was where it was like, okay, well, why did I leave the team in the first place? One, I believe, like, getting back in tune with my vision. I wanted to create I wanted to get involved in people's lives on a very deep level beyond real estate. My whole motto is from start to beyond finish for every single person. And as you get busy, sometimes like the human factor comes in, you fail, you forget to follow up, whatever it may be. So how did I do it? It was being honest with myself where I was at, staying in tune with the vision of where, I'm doing it to give excellence in business because people deserve it, and to give my family a great life. That's a double-edged reason right there. And then I also just stayed really in tune with giving myself grace and surrounding myself with people like you, and actually spending less time with people that weren't graceful. So I would say those are three ways that I manage, and a tremendous amount of prayer, honestly.
That's awesome, man. So those are some great tips right there. And, as somebody, he and I talk, almost every day. So I got to watch him go through this and go through the breakdowns and the breakthroughs. And it's really that self-grace, guys. It's really that self-compassion. There's days where I talk to him and I'd be like, how's it going? And he's like, I feel like I'm dropping the ball on everything, but I'm doing the best I can. And I just have to trust that God will pick up where I drop it. And God did, and he rewarded him, and he became, he launched his production in a very short time. And so, with that being said, it's mindset, it's self-talk, it's surrounding yourself with the right people, right? It's surrounding yourself with people. You should ask yourself every time you spend time with someone, does that person inspire me? And if the answer is no, you need to ask yourself, how could I kindly and gracefully spend less time with them? Your life is short. You don't have time to spend time with people who yank and pull you down, because God has a mission. He's got a plan. He's got something great. He's getting ready to do something great in your life. And you don't need a bunch of people holding you down. You need to step into that greatness and just go for it. So I hope you guys got a ton of value out of this. I'm blown away. 6 of you already RSVP'd for the EXP Explain next week. I'm super pumped about that. Gary, would you mind just saying a quick sentence or two? You just joined us a month ago. You were working at Kaiser Permanente, and within a month you were able to quit your job and go full time. So what was your experience so far on the team?
Game changer. I was a part-time agent for like 5 years, and I just went for it. I joined the team, learned a lot from you guys. It took like 4 listings almost immediately. It's just a game changer. Those Monday masterminds, listening to these agents all over the United States. We're closing like 100, 200, 300 listings a year. I just learned a lot, and you guys are awesome.
Thanks, brother. Thank you, man. Yeah, and you put in the work and you hit it hard. And so I'm proud to be a partner with you. But what he's talking about is the Monday masterminds every day at 10 a.m. There's about 50 agents who sell over 100 homes a year. They share their screens. They tell us everywhere they're getting leads from. They tell us their whole strategy for radio, their strategy for marketing, their strategy for customer service. They give us all insight into all the operations in their business. And that's the partners that we get to be partnered with, in addition to all the support that John and I give. So that's enough for that commercial right now. But if anybody's interested, would recommend diving into that and just checking us out next week. Hope you guys got a lot of value out of this. You will get a recording after. Have a blessed week, everyone. And thank you so much for attending. John, do you have any parting words?
No, I hope you guys have, well, I guess I do. Make it a great Wednesday, and think of every opportunity, every relationship, whatever it is, business or personal. How can you use the 1 to, let's just call it a 1 to 3 ratio? How can 1 to 3x ratio, right? To maximize your experience and other people's experience of you. Hope you guys have a great day.
Love it, John. Have a great day, everyone. See you soon.